So, Unrivaled, lads. Unrivaled had a interesting enough start, and obviously there's a picture of Caitlin Clark, who is not Unrivaled. And I know you guys are probably wondering why I've put Unrivaled. I've put Caitlin Clark there in an Unrivaled. And the reason is we got a grand total of 3 minutes into the broadcast without a shot at Caitlin Clark. And you might be saying, like, oh, this is like, it wasn't a shot, this was complimenting another player. Like, I'm not even sure at this stage. I'm not even sure when it comes to this, because, look, I am someone who, again, like, if you guys are new to the channel, obviously subscribe. Jesus, I dragged it on screen. Yeah, a bit of self-promo there. But, like, I'm someone who did watch the WNBA. Like, I watched it before. I knew how good Chelsea Gray was. Chelsea Gray is one of the greatest point guards of all time. She is. Like, look, her nickname is the Point God, and people will never let you forget it. Like, these old WNBA people will never let you forget it. And I'm not even going to blame Lisa Leslie, because Lisa Leslie just had her catchphrases. She, like, if you drank every time Lisa Leslie said Point God, Sweet Baby Ray, or Boom Boom Room, you were, or Barbie, you probably have died midway through the second quarter of that second game. But literally, we go right onto the broadcast, and straight away, Candace Parker, the Rose have the best point guard in the world. The best point guard in the world, Chelsea Gray. And I'm like, you might be saying, okay, yeah, that's promoting, just hyping up Chelsea Gray. And I really hope it is. But we literally got about 5 sentences in without a, we've got the best point guard in the world, in the position of the one huge player. Because you better believe, and you might be saying, oh, it's hyping her up. Nobody would ever say Brittany Griner's. You will not hear Brittany Griner's the best center in the world, because she's not. Because, you know, Age is the best center in the world, or power forward. You won't even hear Fee's the best power forward in the world, because Age sometimes plays power forward. They wouldn't dare say that, but they will dare say someone that is a lot further away from Caitlin Clark than these other players are from Asia in their positions. Like, Chelsea Gray, comparing Chelsea Gray to Caitlin Clark is like comparing Angel Reese to Aja Wilson. There's that big of a gap right now. Chelsea Gray is not as good as Jordan Canada. She's not as good. And this is, like, obviously, Caitlin Clark's an obvious one. Not as good as Jordan Canada. Not as good as Sabrina. She's not as good as Tash Cloud. Not as good as Skylar Diggins. And that's just a fact in the year of 2025, because she can't run. Like, whatever about Chelsea Gray, like, she always kind of ran funny. Even yesterday's game. Like, Chelsea Gray I thought was really good. Chelsea Gray's tough shot making was incredible. But, like, everyone's talking about, oh, you know, Chelsea Gray, it's all about the passing. Man, Chelsea Gray threw the ball at people's feet more often than she threw it on people's hands yesterday. She made a really good pass to Angel in the post, where Angel got fouled, and she made a nice behind-the-back pass to Cat Copper, where it was another one of those Chelsea Gray passes where Cat Copper was never going to make the layup, but it looked cool. It was a looked cool more than an effective pass. But, like, Chelsea Gray was throwing the ball at people's feet. Like, she was mishandling the ball. She couldn't do anything facing up, so she was literally having to Mark Jackson people, backing them down full court. The only thing she can do is back down post up. Like, she can't do anything face up because she's too slow. And that's just the reality of the situation in 2025. That is 2025 Chelsea Gray. And that is fine. Chelsea Gray 2022 had maybe one of the best playoff runs for an individual player ever. Chelsea Gray 2023 was brilliant. Chelsea Gray was already suffering from injuries. She was getting on in years, and she picked up a broken foot, and she cannot run. She cannot run. They were playing the whoever on Chelsea Gray, and I understand 22 from Indiana is not that good a defender, but she's a lot better of a defender as far as guarding perimeter players than Chelsea Gray is. Like, she can at least move laterally. She can at least move. Like, it's mad. Like, we've got, like, it's such an annoying narrative, because obviously Chelsea Gray is one of the all-time greats. But it's like, imagine if, when Luka Doncic was coming through in 2020. Like, Luka Doncic is going to go down, like, everyone knew from his second season in the NBA that he was the best point guard in the NBA. When he had a month averaging a 30-point triple-double. Everyone knew he was the best point guard in the NBA after his second season. It would be like in 2020, someone clinging on to Chris Paul's the best point guard in the NBA. It's like someone clinging on to CP3 now, maybe. And heck, Chris Paul was less washed in 2020 than Chelsea Gray is now. It would literally be like I'm trying to think, where'd he go? A Warriors Chris Paul. It's like trying to argue Warriors Chris Paul is the best point guard in the NBA. It would be like making that argument. And that is what the equivalent is. If somebody went out and said that let's just say in 2022, or let's just say last year, heck, when Luka Doncic got to the NBA Finals, and to be fair, if you consider Shea a point guard, Shea might be. But like, if someone literally decided to say, you know what, let's just say, I don't know, an exhibition or a big tournament like this happened, and all the big players went, except Luka decided no. Or, I was about to say centers, but there was no real good centers. But Luka decided no, and Chris Paul was there, and all of them were like, you know, we got the best point guard in the world, Chris Paul. We got the best point guard in the world, Chris Paul here. As the first thing they say, obviously it would be a shot at Luka Doncic. And that's the thing where it's like, I understand, like, there's no point bringing up Caitlin Clark on this broadcast. And if the statement went, we've got one of the greatest point guards of all time, fine. But the problem is it's funny because Candace Parker was there complaining about how WNBA players can't get criticism, and people are like so like scared to criticize WNBA players. And it's been the narrative the entire season that Chelsea Gray is the best point guard in the world. Chelsea Gray is not a top 5 point guard in the WNBA. Like, Chelsea Gray would not start for, like, Chelsea Gray is not as good as Ty Harris. She's not as good as Ty Harris. Like, she would not start for most WNBA teams. She would not start for the Fever. Last season, she would have started for the Sparks because they had nobody. She obviously started for the Aces because their backup point guard was Kate feckin' Martin. Like, when she was running the one at times. Heck, Jackie Young was running the point for them. They had, she obviously wasn't, she was going to start for the Aces because they just didn't have any. She was never going to start for the Liberty. Sloot's similar enough level, and Sloot didn't play very much by the end of things. She wouldn't have started for, obviously, the Fever. She would have started for the Sky, I guess. She would have started for the Sky. I don't know if she would have started over Julie Vanloo for the Mystics. And definitely when they were playing Brittany Sykes at the one, she wouldn't have started over Brittany Sykes. But it's so frustrating because it was like Candace Parker complained basically about you can't get criticism, and it's like, oh, people are like so scared to talk about it like it's a sport. But yet Candace Parker is doing another thing, telling people their eyes are lying to them. And look, if this was a one-off situation, I wouldn't be talking about this. I wouldn't make a video. It might just be hyping up one of the greatest point guards of all time, which Chelsea Gray is. But it's not a one-off situation. There was an entire season of the media telling you that Chelsea Gray was the best point guard in the world. Chelsea Gray literally had a career-altering injury and she can't run anymore. She can't run. And the media were still trying to tell you. We were watching the Olympics where Japan were able to stay in the game against USA because they ran to whoever on Chelsea Gray. We watched USA dig holes against Germany, dig a hole against Belgium early in the game because they ran to whoever offense on Chelsea Gray. And then we still had the commentators being like, Chelsea Gray is the best point guard in the world. She was literally not a top 6 point guard in the WNBA. And next year, she is not, like, with Olivia Moss, Paige Becker's in, and then you never know, Carla Leite and Layla Khan might come from overseas. I don't know what their situation is. She might not be a top 12 point guard in the WNBA within the next 2 years. And that is fine. She's still one of the greatest players of all time. But it's fine to regress as you age. That is fine. People, and you don't need to keep saying Chelsea Gray is the best point guard in the world, because doing that to try to diminish number 22 from Indiana just makes you look dumb, because she clearly isn't.